Really new to Krishna consciousness. Really new. Okay. I thought so. This is the third class, and you're coming in. The bus has already left, and we're down the road, and I'll give you a little background, so at least you have an idea of what's going on here. Of those of you that are really new, do you need an introduction to Bhagavad Gita and who is Krishna? You know, and you have some idea. They're saying yes. How about you? You have a little idea? Krishna? No, in the back, this American lady. Yes. Yes, okay. So, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives some teachings to Arjuna. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is very straightforward. Here's it is in Sanskrit. You don't have to know Sanskrit, but Sarvadharma parijyaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishami ma. The meaning of the verse in simple language is so many things I've taught, so many teachings of Dharma, what's to be done, what's not to be done. All those are secondary to one thing. They help one come to one thing. What's that one thing? Mam ekam shanam. Take shelter of me alone. And by so doing, all of your sins, all of your misdeeds in the past, clean. This makes you pure. Just this one thing. The other things, okay, but do this one thing. And then at the end of Krishna's life, it marks the end of a change of yugas. In Sanskrit, the word yuga means age of mankind, yuga. So in this age, this of 4 yuga cycles, this is the dark one, this one. And so Krishna, this is keeping it really simple. Krishna began to contemplate, how are people going to understand this message of Bhagavad Gita in this dark age? They won't be able to understand it. They'll misunderstand it at best. So what to do? I mean, this is paraphrasing, of course. And he considered, well, I can send a representative, and the representative can, but there's nothing better. I'll come myself, and I'll come in the mood of a devotee of myself and teach how to. The conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna did that. According to scripture, in this age, Kali Yuga, Krishna appears in a complexion that's golden, because Krishna's complexion is Shama, darkish complexion, like a monsoon cloud, dark color. But Krishna appeared in a golden complexion, hint that Radharani is golden complexion. So he appeared in the complexion, the duty, the luster of Radha, and the mood of Radha, the bhava and the luster of Radha. But Krishna himself, to teach how to. That's Lord Chaitanya. So now that you know who is Krishna, now you know at least in principle who is Lord Chaitanya. And then Lord Chaitanya appeared early in this age, approximately 500 years ago. And he didn't write books, but he had associates, loving associates, and his loving associates wrote books. We heard yesterday evening one of those principal persons who he invested spiritual potency to understand everything. His teachings means Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, and the essence of the scripture. He loaded him up. He empowered him to understand it and to write it and expand it to the world as his lieutenant, as his chief assistant. His name, Rupa. It's a really easy one. R-U-P-A, Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami appeared around the same time, just shortly, a younger generation of Lord Chaitanya. And then several generations, like 6 generations later, came this personality who's pictured up here in the upper right, who had love for Rupa Goswami, like transcendental love for Rupa Goswami. This author's name is Vishwanath. It's a more difficult name. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is full. Vishwanath. So when he was 16, he wrote 3 books. And those 3 books were all commentaries on the writings of Rupa Goswami. When he was 16, he had an early start. He was he was at the feet of Rupa Goswami 5-6 generations later. He looked up to him his whole life. And so what we've been doing is discussing a book written by Vishwanath, pictured up here in the upper right, explaining 2 verses from one of his books. And those 2 verses is outlining the stages of bhakti from the beginning to the perfection. 9 stages in one verse. And so that's what we're doing. We're discussing that book. Yesterday we heard the meaning of the title of the book. The title of the book is Madhurya, which means sweet, honey-like, kind of sweet, and Kadambini. Kadambini is a nice Sanskrit word. It means, literally translated as cloud bank. It's like a downpour of honey from this cloud bank of Rupa Goswami's writings to nourish the bhakti, the seed of bhakti that Lord Chaitanya wanted the world to have. And Rupa Goswami wrote abundantly about it. And he's just 2 verses explaining what are the stages. So the word bhakti, it's very simple. Bhakti means love or devotion. It's service, practical activity, service, with a feeling of love for the object of service. So it's like a sentence construction. There's subject, object, and a verb. So the subject is us, looking at the object, Krishna, and then the verb is love. So how does it work? So what we're going to be discussing this evening is, how does it start? Where does bhakti come from anyway? Because we're in this world, and it's not. There's there's a biblical teaching, as above, so below. This world is a reflection of the spiritual world. And in the spiritual world, there's real love. And in this world, there's a reflection, where God isn't the center. When God is the center, then it's really real love. But if God's not at the center, he may be in the picture somewhere, by name at least. But when it's just exclusively God is in the center, Krishna is in the center, that's the goal. Prema, love. Prema, bhakti. Bhakti, that same word, bhakti. Service with love. That's the goal. And then how does it start? That's the topic today. Okay? I'll say one other thing to as a preliminary, especially for you 3 that raised your hand and said you're very new. The audience that Vishwanath was writing for was 3 in category. Basically beginners, intermediate, and advanced. And the advanced folks were scholarly, knowledgeable in technical fields of the Vedas. And they've got their hands on their hips saying, all this other stuff, we're not interested. We're interested in the original Vedas, please. So that's one of his audiences. And so he, Vishwanath, knew that subject. And so you'll hear some of that. It's not because he had 3 audiences. He had really new people. And, people that have been around for a while. And they have some idea, but it needs to be brought more in focus and, finer, clearer, very distinct images of the stages of bhakti. So some of it is going to be for those people that we want to know where's your reference, please, your scriptural reference, please, from the original 4 Vedas, please, because otherwise you lost us. We're not interested. So that was one of his audiences. And completely new people. So here's his part 2. He's going to first, after firmly establishing that the Supreme, Krishna, manifests only by his own sweet will, not caused by anything material, we are next to understand he's like a teacher or like a lawyer. He's going to give, his case law to support what he says. We're next to understand that bhakti and expansion of his own Swarup Shakti similarly manifests only by her own sweet will, not prompted or caused by anything material. So, Swarup Shakti. Shakti means potency. Like electricity is a kind of Shakti. Touch, electric outlet and find out there's some potency there. So there's spiritual potency also, along with material potencies. And those spiritual potencies go by the name Swarupa. Rupa, we already heard his name. Rupa means form. Rupa means form. And Sva means his own. So Krishna's Swarupa Shakti. It's very simple. Just like there's the sun and there's sunshine. Is there anything like a sun that doesn't have sunshine? No such thing. Or shine that doesn't have a sun? No such thing. So they're inseparable. The Shakti and the possessor of that Shakti are inseparable. But so Krishna's own Swarup Shakti is bhakti, or an expansion of, we'll hear a little bit, some technical terms. So as Krishna appears only by his own sweet will, so bhakti appears by her own sweet will. Notice the gender, he and she. So Shakti is feminine, just like Radha Krishna. The Radha part is the feminine part. And the feminine part is one of his spiritual potencies, his Shaktis. Hladini Shakti, a pleasure potency, Radha. And Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Radha. We'll see. I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll hear. Let's hear. As Rasa Swarup Krishna, Rasa means taste. We had this little discussion yesterday. Our host had a son, and he was the one asking a question. Is he here today? No. He wanted to know, what does rasa mean? So I asked him, do you like juice? Yeah. What's your favorite juice? Right away, apple juice. What about mango juice? Apple juice. Pineapple juice. Apple juice. Orange juice. And then, grape juice, and, there's, juice has a flavor. You like apple. Yeah, yeah. So, but there's different juices. So rasa is juice. And one other English translation of the word rasa is a flavor, or a spiritual taste. So there are different rasas, or relationships of love with the source, Krishna. So he's rasa sarup. He's the form of rasa. That's a declaratory statement. He's going to give some scriptural support that says it. We'll see shortly. He makes his appearance wherever and whenever he likes. So the Sanskrit word, we'll see this about 6 times. Svechaya. Icha means desire, and svecha, his own desire. He appears by his own desire, by his own sweet will. Bhakti also manifests in someone's heart by her own sweet will. Gender, she. Unrestricted by any law of nature. There's no material cause, there's no material impediment that can start or stop bhakti, or can start or stop Krishna. He comes by his own will, and she comes by her own will. So that's his method. He makes declaratory statements, and then he supports. He's like a lawyer making a case. Here's my case. Here's the case law that supports my statement. That's what he does. So before he became a very senior renunciate, he was a school teacher. He taught Sanskrit when he was a teenager. And so he knows how to teach new people. So this is lesson 1. Brahman, or spirit, is the mainstay of the existence of the Supreme. How do we know that? Look at this. Here's this. We saw this yesterday several times. Those of you that were with us yesterday, you'll remember. Probably heard it so many times you're tired of hearing it. Brahma Pucham Pratishta, which means it's a verse from Taittiriya Upanishad. It's very short, terse, cryptic. Brahman is the origin of everything. Brahman, that spirit, God, the Supreme, the origin of everything. Of he who is the embodiment of absolute bliss. That's the statement. So we saw a chart several times yesterday. We'll see it again today. This very same statement is found in Bhagavad Gita. I'm gonna be prompted to read to you the verse from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 13, verse number 5, 13.5, purport, where this Brahma Pucham Pratishta is referred to. So Brahman is the mainstay of the existence of the Supreme. And then in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, which comes right after chapter 13, verse 27. Look at this, you marked the spot. Okay. 14:27. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. For the newer people, it's going to, just try your best just to understand the concept. If the terminology isn't something that you can get your head around, don't worry about it. Just get the concept. There's a person, and then there's the impersonal feature of that person. So like, each one of us, you can say there's an energy field that, science says there are photons of light that emanate from something that's alive. Did you know that? A plant, a microbe, a tree, a person, etc. There's light emanation from anything there's a soul. Where there's a soul, there's light. So there's an energy field. Use that language. So that impersonal Brahman is the energy field surrounding what's the energetic. There's this, as the soul has an energy field, the Supreme does too. That energy field of the Supreme is the impersonal feature of the Supreme. And that's what's stated in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman, which is immortal, imperishable, and eternal, and is the constitutional position of ultimate happiness. That's the verse. And notice this expression is found 2.7. There's the previous verse is 2.5.1. In the purport here of this verse is 2.7.1 of Taittiriya Upanishad, the same book. It's the Upanishadic portion of Yajurveda, for those of you that like technical things. I'll just go back halfway through the purport for those who want to check this out later. I'm reading from Bhagavad Gita 14:27 purport. The four Kumaras were situated first in the impersonal Brahman conception of the truth, but then they gradually rose to the platform of devotional service. One who cannot elevate himself beyond the impersonal conception of Brahman runs the risk of falling down. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that although a person may rise to the stage of impersonal Brahman, without going further, with no information of the Supreme Person, his intelligence is not perfectly clear. Therefore, in spite of being raised to the Brahman platform, there's a chance of falling down if one is not engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Vedic language, it is also said, Rasovai saha rasam yevam labdhavanti bhavati. Wow, what happened? Uh-oh. Okay, we're back again. So I was reciting the Sanskrit from Taittiriya Upanishad 2.7.1 because the previous verse was 2.5.1. Rasavaisaha. When one understands, quote translation from the Sanskrit, when one understands the personality of Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendently blissful. Taittiriya Upanishad 2.7.1. The Supreme Lord is full of 6 opulences, and when a devotee approaches him, there's an exchange of these 6 opulences. The servant of the king enjoys on almost equal level with the king. And so eternal happiness, imperishable happiness, and eternal life accompany devotional service. Therefore, realization of Brahman, or eternity, or imperishability, is included in devotional service. This is already possessed by a person who is engaged in devotional service. So, lesson one was Brahman is the basis, the foundation. It's like, we're all seated on the floor. I'm sitting in a chair, but the chair is on the floor. The floor is the basis. The floor is supported by some support beams, and the architects figured it all out. But we're supported by something. So the basis and support of the Supreme Person is this feature. We were using the phrase energy field of Brahman. But there's going to be lesson 2 and 3 that goes next. So in this Bhagavad Gita 14.7 verse echoes the message of Taittiriya Upanishad 2.5.1, while in addition, Krishna is claiming that he is the foundation of that Brahman, which the Upanishad refers to as the foundation of all existence. It's clear? He's the foundation of that which is the foundation. The floor has support beams. The support beams are resting on the ground, and the ground is resting on the earth. And the earth is supported. So what's supporting the earth? Krishna, the person. That's the statement. So here's this really fancy chart that we saw 6 times yesterday. On the left side, this is the Taittiriya Upanishad text. This in essence, I cannot go through it again. 5, here it's the 6 stages of consciousness evolution, or ways in which Brahman is realized. That's how the Taittiriya Upanishad refers to it. And there's parts that are, those in blue box, that's on the material plane. And then above the material plane is the transcendental plane, or they can approach the transcendental plane. And then what's on the right side is what Rupa Goswami says. So on the left side is what the Upanishadic, these are people that they don't care about Rupa Goswami and Lord Chaitanya and, these bhakti people. We want to know what the Upanishads say. So that's what's on the left. And then on the right is what Rupa Goswami says that Lord Chaitanya said, as the Vedas say, and it's 9 stages of bhakti. On the left is 6 stages of realization of Brahman. On the right is 6 stages of the unfolding of the creeper of bhakti, which is the way to know Krishna, the person. I hope it's clear. Okay. There's the Brahma Pucham Pratishta. Well, it says I'm going to read, so I'll read. Here we go. We're going back to whoever book this is. Somebody reads the book. There's so many parts underlined. In verse 13.5, I'll read the Sanskrit. Rishibir Bahuda Gitam Chandobir Vivadai Pratak Brahma Sutras Padaish Chaiva Hetamudbir Vinishchitai. In case you don't understand Sanskrit. Okay. Those persons who are rishis, learned fellows, they have lots of knowledge, and they've studied lots and lots of things. And one of those things they've studied is this word Chandobir, which means Vedic hymns. And then the next line below, Brahma Sutra. So this is like the original stuff, that the ones that the certain class of audience, they know this stuff. And they want to know, where's Krishna in these literatures? I'll read second paragraph from this purport. The word Chandobi refers to various Vedic literatures. The Taittiriya Upanishad, for example, which is a branch of the Yajurveda, describes nature, the living entity and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Paragraph. As stated before, Kshetra is the field of activities, and there are two kinds of Kshetra, Gya, or knowers of the field, the living entity and the Supreme Living Entity, as stated in the Taittiriya Upanishad 2.5. Brahma, Pucham Pratishta. There is a manifestation of the Supreme Lord's energy known as Annamaya, dependence upon food for existence. We covered this yesterday. This is a materialistic realization of the Supreme. Then, Prana Maya, realization of the Supreme Absolute Truth in food. After realizing the Supreme Absolute Truth in food, one can realize the Absolute Truth in the living symptoms. Waiting for the second scream. Okay. Pranamoya, realizing the Absolute Truth in the living symptoms or life forms. So Anamoya, Pranamoya. In Jnanamoya, the realization extends beyond living symptoms to the point of thinking, feeling, and willing, which is more of this on this chart. Manamaya, the mind. Thinking, feeling, willing are functions of the mind. Thus, next, the supreme stage is, what happened? Oh, here we go. Then there is Brahman realization called Vijnanamaya, in which the living entity's mind and life symptoms are distinguished from the living entity himself. So that's on the spiritual side. The other on the material side. The next and supreme stage is Anandamaya, realization of the all blissful nature. Thus, there are 5 stages of Brahman realization, which are called Brahmapucham. Out of these, the first 3, Annamaya, Pranamaya, and Jnanamoya, involve the field of activities, or the prakriti, material nature. Transcendental to all these fields of activities is the Supreme Lord, who is called Anandamaya. Vedanta Sutra. Again, because it's referenced in the verse itself. So here we go. Vedanta Sutra also describes the Supreme by saying, Anandamayo Vyasat, the Supreme Personality is by nature full of joy. To enjoy his transcendental bliss, he expands into Vijnanamaya, Pranamaya, Jnanamoya, and Annamaya. In the field of activities of living entity, is considered to be the enjoyer, and different from him is Anandamaya. This means that if the living entity decides to enjoy in dovetailing himself with the Anandamaya, or the Supreme Person, he becomes perfect. Bhagavad Gita purport. Now, we're reading a book, or we're discussing a book written by Vishwanath that's covering this topic, because he has one kind of audience. He would like that audience to understand bhakti is found in the Upanishads. It's found in the original Vedas. It's not a new thing that just kind of was created out of thin air. There's scriptural foundation for it. Lesson 2. So Brahman is the foundation. That one Brahman who embodies Brahmananda is constituted of all rasa. There's this 2.7.1. The rasa vaisaha. is the Sanskrit of that verse. While Brahman is the mainstay of the existence of the Supreme, in a later verse in the Taittiriya Upanishad states that the Supreme Lord is the reservoir of rasa, or ecstatic pleasure, like juice, apple juice, or mango juice, or juice, sweet and relishable and very, very nice. Rasovaisaha. That one Brahman who embodies Brahmananda becomes submerged in joy. There's this reference to the same purport that I read from already. There's the Sanskrit. When one understands the personality of Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he actually becomes transcendently blissful. Because the Supreme is transcendently blissful. So you connect with the transcendently, you connect with electricity, you get electrified. You connect with the Supreme, you get transcendently blissful, because he's transcendently blissful. It's one of the signs that you've made the connection. Oh, I made the connection. So now this is still lesson 2. The Lord is Rasa Sarup. Nice photograph of a nice deity. Confirmed elsewhere. Bhakti Rasamrita Sut, that BRS, that's what it stands for, is one of Rupa Goswami's fundamental writings that Vishwanath, when he was 16, wrote a commentary on. So in Rupa Goswami's writings, he addresses him as Akila Rasamritas Murti. Murti means form. The form of nectar. And all the different rasas. So he's not just apple juice, he's apple juice plus. Here's a nice example referred to by Vishwanath to illustrate this. He's making this declaratory statement. Now here comes some scripture that supports it. So there was a past time when Krishna, who grew up in a village named Vrindavan, was invited to come to the big city, Mathura, the capital. And when he entered, there was a plan to kill him. And when he came, there were wrestlers in a wrestling arena. And as he entered the wrestling arena, this is the verse. The various groups of people in the arena regarded Krishna in different ways. They had different rasa. When he entered it with his elder brother, the wrestlers saw Krishna as a lightning bolt. The man of Mathura as the best of male. The women as Cupid in person. The cowherd man as their relative. The impious rulers as a chastiser. As parents as their child. The king of Bhojas as death. The unintelligent as Supreme Lord's universal form. The yogis as the absolute truth. And the Vrishnis, that's Krishna's relatives, as their supreme worshipable deity. So lots of rasas, not just apple juice. According to the heart, one perceives the same object in a different way. And then there's a reciprocation of rasa. And Krishna, he is the repository of all rasas. He's able to exchange on all platforms with all people at all times. They're fully satisfied. Their taste for juice is satisfied. Lesson 3. Now this is how Krishna appears when he wants to, only. Impelled only by his own sweet will, that is Swechaya, Rasa Sarup Krishna makes his appearance wherever and whenever he likes. That's the declaratory statement. Let's hear some scriptural support. By his own sweet will. Here's a verse from Canto 4 Bhagavatam, verse number 8, or chapter 8, verse 57. There you see the Sanskrit Svecha. One should meditate upon the attractiveness with which the Lord will produce through his inconceivable powers in his different incarnations when he appears by his own supreme will. The painting on the left, that's Dhruva, little Dhruva, 6-year-old boy, and he was in a kind of a get-back mood. His stepmother insulted him in front of his father, and his father didn't say anything, so he became angry, a little Kshatriya boy. So he went to his mother and told his mother what happened, and said, I want not just my father's kingdom, because he's the eldest son. He's entitled to the kingdom of his father at a later stage of life. So I want a kingdom better than my father, and better my father's father, and better my father's father. She said, only Vishnu can do this for you. He said, very well. How do I find Vishnu? She said, I don't know. I'm just a lady living in the palace, but I've heard the yogis, they go to the forest and somehow they find Vishnu. Great, I'm going to the forest. He was a very determined, young, feisty 6-year-old. So he went to the forest. He looked everywhere. He couldn't find Vishnu. And Narada Muni knew Dhruva was off in the forest looking for Vishnu. So he came and he tried to reason with the little boy. Dhruva, you're not going to find Vishnu in this mood of getting back at your stepmother. That's not how you're going to find Vishnu. How do I find Vishnu? Well, you have to accept a life of simplicity and austerity and free yourself from that get-back mood. And he saw how determined Dhruva was, so he gave him the procedure and the mantra and the this and the that, so he could be equipped to meet Vishnu face to face. So in that section of the Bhagavatam, here's this verse. By his own sweet will, he appears. And here's another verse from same Sanskrit, from Canto 8. O Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, by your own sweet will you appear in various incarnations, millennium after millennium, and act wonderfully, performing uncommon activities that would be impossible for us. So this is a painting depicting the demigods headed by Lord Brahma go to the shore of the milk ocean. That's that white foamy thing, that's the milk ocean. And in the middle of the milk ocean, there's an island called Svetadweep. And on that island, there's the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. So they went to Vishnu to appeal to him by his own sweet will. Help! We need your help. There's a difficult situation. Please help. So they went to offer their prayers, and this is one of their prayers. By your own sweet will, you appear. So he made a declaratory statement. He's giving scriptural support. And as the person who's behind the impersonal Brahman appears by his own sweet will, here's what happens when he appears. According to Taittiriya Upanishad, again, it has different audiences. The coverings of, the universe has coverings, and it has a dimension of the coverings of the universe mentioned in Taittiriya Upanishad. They're penetrated and spiritualized when the Lord appears by the completely independent and spiritual energy of Krishna's Bhakti Shakti, like an iron rod in fire. So an iron rod is not fire, but put an iron rod in fire and keep it in the fire, it becomes like fire, fire-like. So similarly, when the Supreme Lord appears, this material manifestation becomes spiritualized. That's what happens when he appears. And the living entity, who may also be in the material world, their chitta or consciousness is touched or infused with his rasa. reviving the soul's constitutional ananda. That's nice to know. If you want to experience ananda or transcendental happiness, just make contact with the source of rasa, with Krishna. When he appears, then consciousness is infused with his rasa. There's the Sanskrit for the Taittiriya Upanishad. When one understands, again, this is the third time this evening, when one understands the personality Godhead, the reservoir of pleasure, Krishna, he, the devotee, actually becomes transcendently blissful. He's like a lawyer building a case. And the case is the teachings of Rupa Goswami are right. And he knows it inside and out and sideways and backwards and forwards. He can very, very convincing. Lesson 5. Exactly like the self-manifesting nature of the Supreme Lord, we will now establish the same self-manifesting nature of bhakti. And there's a different Sanskrit word, and that different word is yadrichchaya. What does yadrichchaya mean? Well, we're going to explore that. An easy way to translate it means somehow or other. There's no material explanation, so somehow or other. Yadrichchaya. Question. Since bhakti is the essence of rasa and is the only way to know Krishna, we know that from Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 55, how does bhakti become manifest? That's his next topic for the next rest of the evening, is that question. Pure bhakti does not arise by human effort, since it can only be attained by chance mercy of great devotees. That's yadrichchaya. So that is, someone who's a great devotee sees somebody over there that's kind of struggling and needs some help. So they go to that struggling, needs some help person and give them mercy. And the mercy they give is in the form of bhakti. Jnana yoga, which is a different system of yoga, is attained on its own by those who have understood the Atma, by knowledge arising through Nishkam karma. So for those of you that are a little newer, what's all this? Karma generally has, I do something to get something. Nishkam is, I do something without the purpose of trying to get something. And there's a procedure for Nishkam karma. It's a type of yoga, Nishkam karma, yoga. And the benefit of, one of the benefits of Nishkam karma yoga is the soul's capacity to know, it grows. That is to say, it's covered by desire, kama. But if there's nish-kama, no material desire, what's that? Knowledge. So there's a teaching within the Vedic system of engaging in activity without attachment to the fruits of your activity, but doing your activity because it's to be done. Duty because it's to be done, not to get something. In this Nishkam Karma Yoga, and one who performs Nishkam Karma Yoga, the covering of the soul is reduced, and then the natural jnana that's within becomes more awakened. Light comes from the soul more because the covering is removed. Nishkam Karma Yoga. These are attained by human effort. This is a reference. Vishwanath, the painting on the right, that's Vishwanath, our author. And he's making reference from Canto 11 Bhagavatam. This section is Krishna's teaching to Uddhava, called the Uddhava Gita. By her own sweet will, Radrishchaya. Bhakti Devi, who is a direct expansion of Radharani, is self-manifesting and independent of any material cause. Radharani says, Bhakti Devi, she says, yes, some service. There's a living entity over there that's miserable. Can you give some mercy to that miserable living? Oh, yes. So, Bhakti Devi is Radha's expansion, and under Radha's indication, Bhakti Devi gives bhakti to somebody. Now, she does so through an agent, a representative. She empowers someone. A lawyer building a case, right? So follow the steps. Here's a very nice verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2. Many of you are familiar with this verse. Let's say this is half the verse. Yato bhaktir hog sajay ahaitokiya pratiyata. Devotional service has no material cause or hetu. Hetu is a Sanskrit word that means cause, like cause and effect. There's no material cause. There's an effect, but devotional service is an effect that has no material cause. Ahaitaki means no material cause, and a pratiyata means there's nothing that can stop it. Once it's rolling, you can't stop it. And to verify, he's making some statements. Here's some scriptural reference. Look at this. Right in Canto 11, Chapter 20, again, this is Krishna speaking to Uddhava. Yadrishchaya matkata dao. If somehow or other, Yadrishchaya, spontaneously, without a material cause, one becomes attached to hearing about me, matkata, somehow or another, if one becomes attached, so what's that somehow or other? Here it is again, in the same chapter, Mad Bhaktim Va Yadrishchaya. Somehow he attains my devotional service. So this is two scriptural references to indicate how Bhakti Devi appears by her own sweet will. Yadrishchaya, somehow or other. Bhakti appears by her own independent sweet will. Now there's something behind that. Here's the something that's behind that. There's, in this Uddhava Gita section, this 11th canto, several chapters, Uddhava asks Krishna a question. Uddhava wants Krishna to describe in detail pure transcendental knowledge and devotional service. Krishna repeats something that was said by Bhishma Dev to Yudhisthira at Kurukshetra, Mahabharata discussion. So here's what Krishna says to Uddhava. There it is. Yadrishchaya matkata dao. If somehow or other, by good fortune, somehow or by good fortune, one develops faith in hearing and chanting my glory, such a person, being neither, this is important, being neither very disgusted with, thus inclined to gyan. If one is disgusted with material existence, yuck, I want free from material existence. I want liberation. Please. So those that want liberation, they try for this Nishkam Karma Yoga and then augment or facilitate their capacity for transcendental knowledge because of their disgust with material existence. So neither too much disgusted nor very much attracted to material life. That's karma. Neither too much this way, neither too much that way. They should achieve perfection through the path of loving devotional service to me. So it's a condition of the heart, of the soul, of the jiva. Neither too much nor too much. It's a nice understanding. Though that's a good recipient of bhakti. The painting, that's Uddhava at the feet of Krishna and Dwarka, and Krishna and Dwarka is giving answers to Uddhava's questions about how does bhakti make its appearance. Similarly, on the upper right, that's a little drawing of Rupa Goswami from his writing, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which we mentioned now for the 10th time. Vishwanath wrote commentary on this book when he was 16, so he knew the topic very well. Here's a verse. If a person is completely disgusted with sense objects, he's qualified for Gyan, not Bhakti. If he is too attached to sense objects, he's qualified for karma. If the person is devoid of extreme attachment, then that person is qualified for bhakti. Thus, there are three persons qualified by three types of attachment. Disgust with objects is caused by purification of the heart arising from the practice of nishkam karma. The cause of too much attachment is beginningless ignorance of vidya. The cause of being devoid of too much attachment is the unexpected association with exalted devotees alone. So, everybody in the room, congratulations. There are lots of people that meet those who are carrying bhakti, and it doesn't faze them at all. They're too much attached to sense objects, or they're too much disgusted with sense objects. And then we're the ones that bumped into, or someone carrying bhakti bumped into us and spilled some bhakti on us. We didn't say, "What are you doing?" "Oh, thank you very much. What was this?" "Oh, it was very nice." And, that's how bhakti begins. That's the idea in simple language. Good fortune, somehow or other. A sadhu, someone carrying bhakti, spills some bhakti on us. A little bit. Another verse from the Uddhava Gita section. There's this word, yadrishchaya. One who is situated in his prescribed duty, free from sinful activities, and cleansed of material contamination, in this very life obtains transcendental knowledge, or by fortune, devotional service. So one may go the path of Gyan, or may go the path of devotional service, depending upon association. Here's a nice verse from Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. There's the Sanskrit at the top, and you see the pink words, pink letters, Ati Bhagena. Ati Bhagena. The qualified person who receives bhakti is described as follows, according to Rupa Goswami. The person who has developed faith in serving the Lord by impressions arising from previous association with devotees, who is not too attached to material objects and who is not too detached, is qualified for Vaidhi Bhakti. So what does that mean? Distribute prasadam. I know devotees, you may also know some devotees, they like distributing prasadam. And sometimes they find living entities that aren't in the human form, and they like distributing prasadam to those living entities. There's a nice example. Here's a nice example. There was a sadhu, or a Vrijbasi, climbing on the side of Govardhan Hill. And then one devotee came close to see what was he doing. And there were some little ants climbing on the side of Govardhan Hill, and he was feeding them some prasadam. And they were very happy. A certain kind of sugar, ants like sugar. They were yummy. And who knows what's going to be the benefit for that living entity? But that was their absorption. Kindness to living entities by feeding them prasadam. And, a kind that they like, of course. You feel offer to people what they like. Ants like sugar. So enough of that by association, or somewhere back there, some association. And then this lifetime, here comes somebody that says, take the book. Oh, sure. We'll see some nice examples as we go forward. Jiva Goswami's commentary on this verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. The word atibhagyena, by extreme good fortune, means by distinctive impressions arising from previous association with devotees. So when we move about here and there, I travel a lot, maybe too much. And as I travel, I'm meeting people. They're like looking at me up and down, like, what planet are you from, sir? Or sometimes they say, are you a Buddhist monk? I say, no, I'm a Krishna monk. Oh, what's that? Then I get to tell them about Krishna. But so those impressions are what's being spoken of here. And best to leave a favorable impression. And a favorable impression is not just you speak nicely. That's a fundamental. But the words that are spoken are with bhakti. So you're passing on bhakti just by your words and your behavior and everything. You don't have to dress as a sannyasi. You dress however you dress. And give, because you're carrying bhakti, you in some way or another you give. I have many travel stories. I won't bother. It is this very bhagena which makes one inclined to receive bhakti from one who has it. This is Jiva Goswami's commentary. It no longer means extreme good fortune as a result of previous pious activities. Rather, it means extreme good fortune received due to having previously received a pure devotee's compassionate association. Atibhagyena. And enough of that, and some association with someone carrying bhakti, and they say, let me check it out. Can yadrishchaya have a different meaning? So this is Vishwanath's way of dealing with the middle group. Well, maybe there's another explanation. So let's look at this and look at that, look at the other thing. Because bhakti doesn't come as a result of good fortune, because what's the cause of the good fortune? Shubha karma. No, something material can't produce something spiritual. So it's not good fortune caused by Shubha karma or auspicious activity. Maybe it's the direct mercy of the Lord. Well, what's the cause? Because if it's the unqualified mercy of the Lord, then everybody would be devotees, because it's unqualified mercy, which is not the case. So that's not an acceptable suggestion. Maybe it's qualified mercy. Not possible, because he would then be guilty of the fault of vishamya or partiality. I'll give to you and not to the others. No. Not qualified mercy either. As Vatsala, he displays one of his bhushanas, which means ornaments, not a faulty partiality or dushana. Unqualified mercy of a devotee versus mercy of the Lord and his Madhyama Bhakta. That's the cause that he's pointing to. What's the question is, how does bhakti arise? Where does it begin? And the combination of mercy of a devotee and the mercy of the Lord, investing power of attorney in a Madhyama Bhakta. Okay, what's a Madhyama Bhakta? Madhyama means middle stage. His devotee is granted power to give out the Lord's own mercy or Kripa Shakti at his discretion. This is a reference from Chaitanya Charitamrita, the section where Lord Chaitanya is instructing Sanatana Goswami, who's Rupa's brother. Remember Rupa Goswami? He had a brother, Sanatana. There he is. So they had some discussion. A Vaishnava is one who has developed all good transcendental qualities, all the good qualities of Krishna gradually develop in Krishna's devotees. So one who has that good quality, they're very eager to give that good quality to others, or the kripa means mercy, potency. The Lord's own mercy, Kripa Shakti, is one of those qualities. He, the personality of Godhead, gives that to his devotee, his Kripa Shakti. And the devotee says, here, take some. Another scriptural reference. This is Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha. The Lord's mercy or Kripa Shakti, which also exists in the Lord's devotees, has devotee association as its vehicle, or has the devotee's mercy, kripa, as its vehicle, and thus passes into other jivas. The Lord's mercy does not operate on its own, independently. No, there's a power of attorney. So, power of attorney. You all know what power of attorney. See, I can't be present, but I give the authority. Someone can sign a contract on my behalf. Power of attorney. I'm bound by that signature because I gave power of attorney. So, similarly, the personality of Godhead Krishna says, "My dear middle stage devotee, yes, I have some service for you." Oh, some service? What's that? Here's some mercy. Give this mercy to those who are qualified. And here's how you decide who's qualified. Please tell me, how do I decide who's qualified? Well, there are those that are your superiors, and you serve them. There are those that are your equals, and you befriend them. There are those that are innocent. Those are the ones you give it to, Kripa Shakti. And then those that are inimical and nasty and averse to the Supreme, keep a distance from those people. So those are mandates from Lord Vishnu. We'll see. It's not. It comes directly in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So, principle. Sadhu Sangha is the root cause of Bhagavad Bhakti. That's the teaching. And Jiva Goswami makes a commentary on Bhakti Sandarbha that says the root cause of devotional service to Lord Krishna is association with Krishna's devotees. Very same teaching as given to Sanatana Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So we have two very important authorities, Jiva Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, saying the same. The same is Sadhu Sangha is the root cause. So what's a sadhu? Sadhu is an elevated spiritual personality. That's a sadhu. And Sangha, association with such sadhus, is the root cause of Bhagavad Bhakti. Here's the word Yadrichaya again. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Jiva Goswami makes this comment on this verse. By the association of the Lord's supremely independent devotees, and as a consequence of the mercy obtained from them, one obtains great fortune. Saubhagya. That Saubhagya itself becomes the eligibility for bhakti. And he explains, the meaning of Saubhagya is, by the contact of sadhus in one's previous life, and by the mercy obtained from them, a very deep impression or sanskara is formed upon the mind or heart. When it is nourished again in the present life, it arises in the form of Shraddha. This is an important understanding. Why is it an important understanding? Because of the 9 stages of bhakti given by Rupa Goswami, the first one is Shraddha. Faith. So supposing one doesn't have faith, how do you get it? Here's how you get it. I'll read it again. It's very important. Supposing someone is faithless, how do they become faithful? There's how. The meaning of Saubhagya is that by the contact of sadhus in one's previous life and by the mercy obtained from them, a very deep impression or samskara is formed upon the mind or heart. And the soul moves from one body to the next with the mind. The mind carries the soul to the next position. So impressions in the mind go with you. When that impression, is nourished again in the present life, it arises in the form of Shraddha. This Shraddha is the cause of the potential awakening of bhakti. Remember, this is pursuing the question, how does bhakti begin anyways? It's a good question. Supposing someone slips on a banana peel and has a fall, crashes or has some difficulty. What to do? Hit the reset button. Go back, like when your computer doesn't function properly. Shut it off and start it up again. And then, sometimes it works. The system's reset and a thing wasn't working, starts to work. So how does bhakti begin? It's an important topic. Not just a curiosity topic. It's more than that. It's Shraddha. So how do you get Shraddha? It's to cause the potential awakening of bhakti. Here's an example. This is a photograph that I received from one of, several hundred. Parma Karuna is connected with the Chicago temple, Kishore Temple. And he travels all over the country, visiting colleges and visiting this and the fairs and, events. So this is one of his photos he sent me. This is a professor at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville. One year, he got a book. In 2018, in University of Nebraska, in Lincoln, Nebraska, he's a professor. And in 2021, back in North Florida, he got Srimad Bhagavatam first volume. And then in 2022, he took another book. Then look, he's got a few more books than those. So this is the topic. And, he had a good experience. He's a professor and he likes books. So he got a few books. During his lunch break, he got a whole Srimad Bhagavatam set. He's a strong guy. He could carry the whole set. Got it? It's this practical example of little by little by little by little. Mercy of the Lord transmitted through his Madhyama Bhakta. So Parma Kruta is Madhyama Bhakta. He likes more than he likes. Mm-hmm. The bhakti within a Madhyama devotee's heart is what is given, not just the book. The source of a devotee's mercy is Bhakti Devi, who is independent. Therefore, bhakti gives bhakti. Now, there's a little detail. Here's a little detail. Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Radharani. And Radharani is the Ladini Shakti portion of Krishna's own potency. So Krishna, he doesn't even have to say anything. He just glances and she knows what he wants. See that fellow over there or lady over there? So then she transmits that message to Bhakti Devi, who is her Radharani's expansion. See that fellow over there or that lady over there gets bhakti, okay? Sure. And then Bhakti Devi invests the power of attorney in a Madhyama Bhakta. Please give bhakti to that fellow or that lady over there. And so it happens. So, but it's the source is still the source. Krishna is the source. Now, his energy, we were using this phrase, energy field, she's part of him. There's no separation. The light from a candle and the candle, or the light from the light fixture and the light that's in the room, they're non-different. They're not separable. You turn the switch and it's off. Turn the switch and it's on. But the energy that's in the room from that light bulb is not the light bulb. The energetic and the energy are distinct, but non-different at the same time. It's bhakti gives bhakti. A Madhyama Adhikari is mandated to discriminate. Thus, so the Lord doesn't have the fault, the dosha of being partial. He just, to those who aren't going to, like the Bible says, don't cast pearls before swine. Don't give something very delicate and most valuable to a person that is just going to trample it. Don't do that. No, but what qualified persons, okay. So the innocent persons, they're the qualified persons. And it's going to take root if they've had some previous association with bhakti of some kind or another, or who knows what. They, just take prasadam, the ants on the hill of Govardhan. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Or people go to a pond and they feed the fish or the ducks in a duck pond. Here's a little Prabhupada story. Everyone likes Prabhupada stories. One of the things that Prabhupada did daily was he had a morning walk. He had a morning walk because he had 2 heart attacks on the boat crossing and a third one after being in America for a year. The doctor said, Swamiji, if you have a 4th heart attack, you're not going to survive. Here's what I'm advising you: every day walk for at least an hour. So every day thereafter he did for at least an hour. His heart condition was such. So, rain or shine or wherever he was, it didn't matter. So one of the places he liked to go was parks, outdoors instead of indoors, out in the park. So one time we went to Brooklyn Battery Park. It's not a lovely place, but it's a park. And one of the things, as we were walking, I was on this particular morning walk, he saw over on that side, there was a pond. So he stopped and looked and just started walking towards the pond. And everyone followed like little ducklings following mother duckling. And then he stopped and he asked the devotees, does anybody have prasadam? and someone had some bread in their shoulder bag. So he said, feed the ducks. They broke off little pieces, chapati or something, and threw it to, and they were quack, 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 and okay, that's good. So now we started walking from the pond. And then Prabhupada stopped, put his cane down, and said, what lesson did we learn today? Everyone looked at each other like... And then he gave the answer to his question. The duck that quacks the loudest gets the bread. And he nodded and then went on with the rest of his walk. So the ants get the sugar, and the duck get the bread, and the fish get the whatever they get, and so that's some association. And the eagerness for that association, you get it. The association. I could tell some other stories, but that's sufficient. Bhaktavatsala Krishna lets his mercy follow and flow with the mercy of his devotee. So there's no dosha, there's no mistake or flaw or partiality, because he's not partial, like the sun shines everywhere. If someone hides under a rock, it's not the fault of the sun. Someone's hiding under a rock. But the sun is shining everywhere. So Krishna's giving his mercy everywhere. But the Madhyama is enjoined by Scripture. We'll see in a moment. Here it is. Look at this. This is from 11th Canto Bhagavatam, where there's a teaching. This is from a section. You see in the upper left of the painting, that's the Navayogendras. And on the right, that's a king, King Nimi. And the King Nimi was engaging some brahmanas performing a yagya. And as the yagya was right in the middle, these Navayogendras came zooming in from space. And the king stopped the yagya, stood up, and paid his respects and started asking 9 questions of each of the 9 Navayogendras. There's details of who those Navayogendras are. And this is one of the things that they discussed. An intermediate or second-class devotee called the Madhyama Adhikari offers his love to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is a sincere friend to all the devotees of the Lord, shows mercy to the ignorant people who are innocent, and disregards those who are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they're enjoined, Madhyamas, that's us. We're enjoined, give mercy to the innocent. So those who have received mercy from the Madhyama Bhakta, they become eligible to receive a life of bhakti. They can say no, they can say yes, they can say maybe, they can say whatever. They're making free will choices. They're not obliged to do anything. But if they have received, then they can say yes when they get this lifetime or a future lifetime, the opportunity. Zach, the professor, was this one lifetime. Got a whole Bhagavatam set now. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. This is Ambarish and Durvasa Muni. That's Durvasa Muni on the left. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. And I'm always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. That's Vishnu responding to Durvasa Muni, who wanted relief from the Sudarshan Chakra for threatening death to the king. So here's a little story. Premananda told me the story. This was on the occasion of a festival of the Holy Name. In a month or so, we're going to be having another one. So she was chanting her japa under a tree in their home, in their yard. And she saw the squirrel that kept, normally squirrels, they see a person, they stare for a little bit and then run away. So this squirrel didn't run away. He just kept staring at her. And, she wondered, maybe they're wounded or, something, there's some problem. And she tried to consider what to do, but the squirrel didn't run away. Then later, she went back to the temple to complete her chanting and do her other services. So her husband was under the same tree chanting japa, and the squirrel came up and, Nirantra. He has a personality. And the squirrel buddied up to Nirantra too. And that squirrel died right in their yard. And so he was trying to communicate something, or he was attracted to the sound of chanting because they were both chanting japa. And that's how the squirrel died. So combine all of that with what we've just been saying. Who knows what that squirrel is today, or who that squirrel is today? Maybe because of dying, hearing the chanting of the holy name, maybe they had a very elevated life in their next life. Who knows? But it's never lost, because the mind carries the soul to the next situation, etc. Very attracted, spontaneously attracted to the chanting of the holy name. Here's another nice example. This is a painting depicting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. The backstory is, every year the devotees from Bengal would come to Puri to take part in Jagannath Rath Yatra and stay for the 4 months and then go back to Bengal. And one person, Shivananda Sain, was deputed to look after the needs of everybody, like several hundred, 300 to 400 people traveling by foot to get from all the way from Bengal to Puri. And that's a trek. And it's costly, and it's also dangerous because they're crossing different kingdoms of different Muslim kings. And it's anyway, paying taxes and crossing rivers and doing, the whole thing, accommodations and meals, and it's a whole thing to organize. It took several weeks every time up and back. So Shivananda Sain was responsible. He volunteered and had that annual responsibility. So one of the journeys heading for Puri, they started being followed, the group started being followed by a stray dog, like a street dog. In India there are such things, abundant. And Shivananda Sain took a liking to the dog and decided when it was time for meals, he wanted the dog to make sure he got his meal too, because that was the kind of person Shivananda Sain was. And one day, the dog was missing. And so he sent, according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, 10 men in different directions looking for the dog to make sure he got his meal. They couldn't find him. He was very sad. Until he got to Puri. When he got to Puri, he found the dog. And there's the dog in the lower right corner. The dog was in this place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was commanding the dog to chant Krishna. So I can't do it the way that some narrators of the Chaitanya, Krishna. And then Mahaprabhu threw him some coconut pulp, and he was chomping on the coconut pulp in the painting. And then he would do it again and do it again. Shivananda Sain saw the scene. That's Shivananda Sain over on the right. And he paid obeisance to the dog. Because he's so fortunate. How did that good fortune come to the dog? From the fortune of the mercy of Shivananda Sain and the association of the devotees. And then he got the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and chanted Krishna's name in the dog form. No, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had the power to do such things. He had elephants chanting and wild animals chanting, and he was the supreme person. He could do that. We can't do that. So this is just an illustration of the principle. We're almost done. Bhakti is not caused by nishkam karma unless it, nishkam karma, is a direct limb of bhakti. That is to say, it's possible that one can be engaged in work that has no fruitive intention behind it, provided it's done with the purpose that Krishna should be pleased, then it's a limb of bhakti. Otherwise, it's not. Bhakti is always distant from karma and jnana. To achieve prema, that's our topic, the flower at the top of that chart that some of you have received. Bhakti is always distant from karma and jnana. To achieve prema, the fruit of bhakti, these paths are not required. Conversely, jnana, karma, and yoga depend upon bhakti to achieve their results. This is straight from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's chapter 1, Madhurya Kadambini. Bhakti does not depend on purity, which is not the same for the other processes, or even faith. That is, unknowingly someone may be engaged in devotional service. You know that this happens. Which way to such and such street where Rath Yatra is taking place? Oh, yeah, thank you very much. That's devotional service, etc. So many examples. Everyone has bhakti naturally in his heart. Stuna, nikana, nyaya, that's the logic of fixing a post more deeply into the ground by hammering on it repeatedly. Replete Srimad Bhagavatam references. This is how we're ending. There's many more in the book itself. Scriptural references, where the remaining commentary in this chapter examines the super excellence of devotional service, its independence upon karma jnana, prior purity, etc., while the opposite is true for other Vedic processes. An example, Bhakti Sandarbha. It has been proved that association of devotees is the cause of bhakti. We already saw that way back. Sadhu Sangha. Abundant prior and subsequent Srimad Bhagavatam references. Here's the same section. You remember this photograph or painting? There's the Navayogendras up in the upper left. And the sage Prabhuda said to King Nimi, sadhana bhakti awakens prema bhakti. There's the Sanskrit from that verse. The bhakti within the heart of an elevated Vaishnava awakens the dormant bhakti within the hearts of others. So here we are, becoming awake. Unlike bhakti, within the other paths of yoga, the means or sadhana and the end are different. So bhakti, the means, and the end are the same. Here's karma, this path, the stairway. The sadhya, that's the goal, attain of earthly pleasures or celestial bliss. The sadhana, follow varnashram dharma and perform yajna. So the path and the goal are different. The path of yoga, sadhya, attain mystic opulences, and paramatma, sayuja, merging with the paramatma. That's the goal. And the sadhana, ashtanga yoga, for those who are yogis. And then here's the list of what those stages are of sadhana, of the ashtanga yoga. Or the path of Gyan. There's another staircase. The sadhya is merging into Brahman. And the sadhana, complete self-control, shastric contemplation, meditation. The point is, the process and the goal are different for each of these three. But with bhakti, it's not. In the immature stage of bhakti, it is called sadhana bhakti, or regulated devotional service. In the mature stage, it's prema bhakti, loving devotional service. This is the essence and truth of pure devotional service. This is Narottam Das Thakur in his writings. It's like compared to an unripe mango and a ripe mango. It's easy. From the same tree comes unripe and then eventually becomes ripe. So, conclusion. Bhakti is the crest jewel of all goals of human life. Paramartha. Param is supreme. Artha means goal or something that is desired. Bhakti is the supreme goal. Conclusion. Just as Swechaya, Krishna appears by his own sweet will, so also Bhakti appears by her own sweet will, self-manifesting and independent of any material cause. That's it. End of chapter 1. Thanks to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami and Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, who's making this chapter 1 commentary. And that's the end. So for those of you that are very new, I hope some messages I went slow enough. And there's a book. Who has the copy of the book? Pretty skinny book, huh? So it's a translation of the Sanskrit of this skinny book. It's just the 9 stages of bhakti. It's 2 verses from a much larger work, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So if you want to read it, there it is in a printed form that's commonly available in digital form. You can read different translations from Sanskrit. Okay. Comments or questions? Amrita Kelly?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. My mind has been going through all those references. Amazing. This is one of my favorite books. I have heard multiple times your previous seminars that you spoke on Madhurya Kadambini at Naperville, 3 times, I believe.
Really?
Yeah. But not with all these details. That was before that.
I don't remember.
Yeah. It always gives so much hope that GPS to keep continuing. One particular thing, I was just trying to understand, Guru Maharaj. I wanted to clarify if my understanding is correct. This aspect of Svechaya or Edrichaya, by their own free will. Bhakti Devi appears on her own, not depending on what.
No material cause.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to understand, is that referring only to the initial contact or further contact also, just the opportunities?
You know the answer. It's not dependent upon anything material. The start, middle, or the end.
Yeah. So
that's your question. It doesn't depend on something material.
Yeah. So when that opportunities come, like this example of Professor Zach, he could have said no when that opportunity came. So somehow I'm thinking when that opportunities are presented to us by the devotees' kindness and by Bhakti Devi's kindness, I could still make a choice.
Yes,
my own free will.
Of course.
Yes, I take it, or no, I'm good.
That's eternally there. Okay.
I'm just trying to hear your response. Krishna or Bhakti Devi takes care of it. You don't have to do anything.
Well, you have to say yes. You can say, let me think about it. You can say no. Your free will is of the soul. It's intrinsic to the soul. Krishna doesn't interfere. Yes.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Good Maharaj. So in the same topic of Yadruchaya, so Bhakti Devi, by her own sweet will, and through the medium of a Madhyama Bhakta, she enters into another living entity. So my question is, those devotees who made some offenses or aparadh.
That's another topic that's coming up.
Okay.
Hang on. You're getting ahead of us. We'll cover it. Promise. Just as this has been very thorough, the other will be also very thorough. Hang on.
Thank you.
Someone else?
Guru Maharaj, I was thinking that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has like a thesis statement, and then he's defending his dissertation.
Yes.
And like Jiva Goswami's approach, he'll present a doubt, then a Purva Paksha, then a Samanvaya to integrate. And
yes.
And the other thought that comes to mind is just hearing how very unconditional and the mercy is. It is a seed for gratitude, because there's no adhikar on my part. It's just the Lord and the Madhyamadhikari taking their mercy on me. There was that word apathy in Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's quote a couple of days ago. So instead of apathy, cultivating this attitude of gratitude for just being in the right place at the right time for no good reason and having obtained this good fortune. A question, Guru Maharaj, comes to mind. There are often places in the Bhagavatam where different devotees will say, what pious activities have I done?
Say it slower. Some devotees will say,
what pious activities have I done to be able to now get Krishna's darshan?
Well, the answer is not by pious activities.
Yes. So like in Gita Nagari, you were reading Akrura saying, what pious activities I've done?
Well, what kind of pious activities is that? It's bhakti pious, not karma pious, not shubha karma.
And then there's the gopis also say that.
Yeah, the cowherd boys, and Shukadev Goswami says about the cowherd boys, how many heaps and piles of pious, but it's not material pious, it's not shubha karma, it's not karma. Karma can't cause bhakti. It's easy. The language may say pious, but then the transcendental brain has to translate that a little bit further. It's not material. It's not shubha karma. Okay.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. And this thesis that Krishna is completely independent. And then he does say in other places, I'm completely subordinate to the will of my devotee.
Well, that's his will.
Yes.
That's his part of his independence.
It's really sweet, that paradox between he's completely dependent, but he says, I'm completely dependent. I'm not independent at all.
It's a paradox. It's a transcendental paradox behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I actually had 3 questions.
3 questions?
One of them is about a small detail. Yeah. So my first question was, when it was mentioned that Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Radha and she's unrestricted by the laws of nature, I was actually thinking about the mode of ignorance, and also anarthas that come about by the mode of ignorance. They come about by the mode of ignorance, right? Anarthas. I was thinking that it's actually really hard to completely be free of all anarthas, and to even try to start like getting rid of them it's really hard.
Well, you can't do it anyways.
So
No.
can she give bhakti to someone who has anarthas? Like, can you have anarthas and also get bhakti?
I'll share with you some of the photographs that I received today from Parma Karuna. You get them too?
I want the ISKCON Chicago book distribution.
Oh.
He posts it every day.
And they're recipients of mercy. Beer in one hand and cigarette in the other hand, and the Bhagavatam in their lap. Etc.
So as a follow-up, then why is it necessary? Like, why is it necessary that we need to let go of pride or not commit offenses? Then, like, what?
Why is it necessary? For further purification. Supposing you hold on to those things, you won't make much progress. Those persons that receive mercy need to make another step. So you've received some mercy and become free from those, because not becoming free is an entanglement in material nature, and easy to make offense to the devotee or to Krishna or both. So, maybe the day will come when you will have children, and you invite the children, and then you have some problems. So before bhakti, you're not making, just living a karma life, karma abundantly filled karma. So now you receive bhakti. Now you have to be a little careful. But you have to build the fence around the creeper of bhakti, because other entities will come and trample on that bhakti creeper, or eat it, or something. So you have to protect it.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah.
My next question was about one of the details that you mentioned. I think you referenced 10.4 from the Bhagavatam, 10.43.17, and like how different people see Krishna differently.
Isn't it a nice verse?
Yeah.
It's a famous verse.
And one of them was unintelligent see Krishna as the Supreme Lord's universal form. The unintelligent see Krishna as his universal form. And I was thinking Arjuna also, is it the same universal form? That
There's
Arjuna
multiple
has?
universal forms, first of all. And it's not, but seeing doesn't mean ignorance. It's right in the, the universal form is Canto 2, Chapter 1. And it's a very different universal form that was shown, that's described, than what was shown to Arjuna. And that universal form was shown to Duryodhana. You know that story, right? Mahabharata?
No.
When Krishna paid a visit to Hastinapur, he met separately, privately, with Dhritarashtra. And he told Dhritarashtra, your son is a big problem. This and that and this. So what you should do is put him in prison, because he's going to destroy the whole dynasty. Dhritarashtra said, there's nothing I can do. He's unstoppable. He's very stubborn. he didn't say no, but almost said no. The word leaked out. Dhritarashtra heard, and he told Karna, and they had a plan. When Krishna comes again tomorrow morning, let's tie him up. Krishna saw them with the rope. This is Mahabharata. Krishna saw them with the ropes. So he showed them his universal form. And they stopped. But later, Duryodhana said he just did some magic, and he wasn't able to process. Although he was shown the divinity, he couldn't process it properly because of his disposition. So there are multiple universal forms. That's the main point. And it's not the sign of somebody's in ignorance because it's shown to them.
Thank you, Maharaj.
But some persons can't see beyond matter, so they saw what they saw, or they were envisioning what they saw. Go ahead. Your third question.
Thank you, Maharaj. So you discussed how Shraddha comes about through Saubhagya. And Saubhagya, like by the contact of sadhus in one's previous life and mercy obtained by them.
Yeah.
I was wondering, can I assume that every living entity in the world at some point has come in contact with a devotee?
Not necessarily. There are people all over the place that haven't. Try visiting China sometime, for example.
But then
I know there's a nice devotee in North Carolina. She and her friend have made a pledge to visit all the counties in North Carolina with Harinam on the street. Because lots of people have never had that contact. Because they went to County X doesn't mean everybody in that county now has heard the holy name and had association with sadhu. No. But they're doing what they understand. Lord Chaitanya would be pleased by. So it's not a fair assumption. To your question, it's not a fair assumption.
then the Lord's mercy, actually, this is probably wrong to say, but it feels like this might be a little unfair that some people come in contact with devotees.
Okay, you're in charge. You're in charge of the fairness department. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it seems a little unfair.
Okay.
But
okay, you got an opinion. I don't have the same opinion. So be more active and make the mercy available so that you'll be right and I'll be wrong. Someone else?
Hare Krishna, Guru. So my question is, Maharaj, the scripture and all is say Madhyama Adhikari can transmit the bhakti to others.
Yeah.
Why not the Uttama Adhikari?
Oh, they can, but then they take the position of a Madhyama.
Okay.
And then they have the rules of a Madhyama apply. They accept and behave according to the rules of a Madhyama. A Madhyama can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. My question was the saying yes part.
Yes.
Is it dependent on anything else? The reason I'm saying that if somebody, based on the previous background or culture.
We're going to hear that one too. You're ahead of us. We'll get there tomorrow. There are ways by which one can say yes. One is just spontaneous and the other is by association. We'll hear. Stay tuned. Yeah.
have a question and a comment, Maharaj. For the question is, Bhakti Devi is an expansion of Srimati Radharani. Does she have a specific form?
Oh, yeah.
And what is that form? And we don't necessarily.
They're paintings and paintings based upon descriptions. But that's that's the best I can do for to answer that question. It's like, the paintings, there are a few. The paintings look like the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. And she's sitting on a throne, and Bhakti Devi. So exactly what she looked like.
Sort of follow up to that, Maharaj, my thoughts are going to the chapter of Bhagavad Gita where Prabhupada explains in text 37 that lust is a transformation of original love.
Yeah.
Something that I observe in the world and I'm fascinated by is how Cupid or lust between two individuals arises. And it also seems to work in a yadrichaya form. Like, how in the world, we have these material bodies that are so disgusting in one sense, yet there's this unrelenting, unreasonable attraction. And is there a form for that? Is that Cupid?
It's Maya. And Cupid it has a function, and Cupid's function works where there's Maya, and Cupid's function doesn't work where there isn't Maya. He has no place. He's defeated.
During the very thorough and even more detailed presentation than you presented at Houston a year and a half ago, I really appreciate it. And as I was listening, something that it is a comment that I was thinking as someone trying to serve as an instrument of Krishna, as a Madhyama Bhakta, we need to be really careful. Two things. Now, one is not be possessive of any person that we might be offering care to or trying to share bhakti with, because they're on their journey, and in their previous life they've received bhakti from so many people, and so that sense of possessiveness is Maya also.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, sometimes when we are offering the opportunity for bhakti, it may be that first stage where they're just tilling the field for their next life, where they may receive the seed of bhakti fully.
And there's so many variables. Being protective is different than being possessive. I won't elaborate. Okay, anybody in the back there? You're all happy. I'm glad you're happy. I'm happy that you're happy. How about our host? You seem to be enjoying this discussion.
Yes, thank you. Very informative. Thank you.
Okay. We'll end here. Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Yeah.